Hello, and welcome to Sacred Foundations. This is our February 2024 reading. I am so happy to be here. I'm Julia Frehner with Jill Chesrow. We just welcome all of you that are coming in. This is an exciting reading, I think, Jill. We both were just chatting about that, weren't we? We were just saying, oh, this is a good one.
Yeah. So we always invite you to look at the cards, look at the imagery, look at the titles of the cards, and see what message it's speaking to you. We both are going to share our interpretation of the cards. Sometimes they're a little bit different. Sometimes they blend together nicely, but nothing is more important than your own inner wisdom and the interpretation that resonates with you. Now, that's not an invitation to just discount everything, because just because we hear something that doesn't immediately resonate doesn't mean that if we sit with it for a moment and ask our inner wisdom, is there a message that's beneficial here for me to be aware of? Like, we do invite you to give that pause and that moment to reflect before completely discounting it. But as soon as you tune into your inner wisdom and have the openness and the willingness to say, hey, is there anything here for me? Then sometimes a little bit will come through for you, even if it's a little bit. So I just wanted to say that. Julia, do you have anything to share to that thought?
No, and other than when you look at the cards, and I think Jill said this beautifully, let them speak with you, to you. And it's more than just the word and the first overall image. There is stuff layered on all of these cards. And so really just coming into them is a beautiful way to gain insight. And we always center first. We always come into our center. We offer a prayer. And that's always helpful too.
Awesome. All right. So before we dive into the reading, I got kind of two different messages, and I feel like some will be beneficial for some people, and then another one would be beneficial to other people. So again, take what resonates with you, but I'm going to go through my version of the reading first from those two different concepts, and then Julia will do what she always does and just bring so much richness and depth to the reading. So I am going to share the screen so you could see February's cards. Fingers crossed. There it is. Yay. Okay. Look good? All right. So we use the Cross of Truth reading. It's a 5-card spread. The reason there's 2 cards in the center here is because Julia and I each pull a card. I pull certain ones one month, Julia pulls some. So it's really a collective reading. So the first card we start out with here is Birthing Wild. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. I know that's not the typical way I do it, but if we look at birthing wild, there's this growth here. There's this, there's this flourishing. And then we go up to the answer outcome advice card, which is emergence. So this is energy. This is movement energy. This is growing energy. And then when we look at the hopes and fear cards here, we see restore, which is one of my favorite cards in general, but it's also Julia's card for the Awakening to Your Divine Self deck. So I always love when this card comes up because it's like an extra hug from my friend. But restore is such an amazing energy. And then we've got compassion here, which we saw a couple months ago. So this is this is important always, but it's a repeating card. So how come restore and compassion are in the hopes and or fear card based on the theme of birthing wild? So 2 things. You may be hoping or feeling a little bit depleted, and you're hoping to get some restoration and some self-care and some nurturing in your life. That's really important. So that's a hope. That's something that is going to support you and that you can move into. Why might it be a fear, though? The fear is, do you have the time to take to do it? Do you have do you know what to do to help restore before you move into this emergence energy? Are you afraid to move into the emergence energy and therefore you're kind of keeping yourself down and not, fully filling your cup, your energy bodies and stuff? So that's a really important one to be aware of. Do you have compassion for yourself for where you are on your journey right now? Maybe if you haven't done the things that you told yourself you were going to do and you're judging yourself or beating yourself up and then just keeping that vibration overall kind of low. There's that invitation to really have compassion for yourself no matter where you are. Don't mistake compassion for excuses though, because we can all make excuses to keep ourselves from doing what we know we're being called to do by our inner wisdom. But overall, there's this loving, nurturing energy and space for that restoration of body, mind, and spiritness well-being. So then we move to the helpful energy card, which is eternal moon. So I'm really going to, from this aspect, let Julia dive more into it because I'm super excited to hear what she has to say about it. But when we look at the moon, moon is mother energy, it's nurturing energy. We have a new moon coming up. And because that's in the helpful energy position, if you already work with the cycles of the moon and moon energy, this is really key for you to tune into, maybe even more than you usually do, or maybe there's some aspect of your moon practice that you maybe slacked on or you're missing. So there's a richness there from the moon energy itself. And then um also, the moon can represent the subconscious, and if there's something maybe hidden or just kind of veiled, that's something to be important as well. So then we move to the obstacle energy, which is radiant soul healing. This card also came up in the not too distant past, in a different position than the obstacle. So my question for an invitation for you to reflect on is there healing or some type of healing that you're not fully allowing to happen in your life, whether that be physical, mental, or emotional healing? But there's some deep level healing here that wants to happen. And for some reason, it's not fully being looked at or allowed to express itself. Oftentimes, when we talk about healing, we could talk about forgiveness, and that's forgiveness of self or forgiveness of others. So, and then we've got the final answer outcome advice card. We've got Phoenix energy here. Phoenix energy has been a huge theme in our Sacred Foundations readings now for the last several months. And then also, Pluto entered Aquarius, and there's the astrological energy of Pluto, which is rebirth and transformation. So a lot of fire, a lot of action energy. But if you're not doing that from a place of, deeper healing and restoration, it's not going perhaps to flow as well as the potential is for it. So that's one aspect of the reading. Another aspect of the reading I got was really around for those that have healing to do around mother, whether it's a biological mother, whether it's you as a mother, whether it's the divine feminine energy of the divine mother. We've got birthing here, women birth. We've got eternal moon, that's mother energy there. And then we've got this radiant soul healing card. So there really was this strong message of if there is any healing work to do around a mother or mother figure in your life, or even just the archetype of mother, this is the month to really look at that and say, all right, universal love and wisdom, what am I ready to let go of? What am I ready to release? What am I ready to heal? And that was a kind of a surprise message that came through just a couple of hours ago, to be honest with you. So really restore that healthy mother bond, whether it just be, through your own inner work or actually tangibly in the world with a mother figure in your life. There's that restoration, there's that healing that is available this month. So I I'm excited to see what comes forward for you as you hear this, hear the reading that I shared, and now ready to dive into Julia's interpretation of the cards.
Mm, Jill, so good. So, so good. All right. Um, we are at this cross quarter where I look at in the northern hemisphere that we are halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And so for me, if I look at solstice, the winter solstice as midwinter, this time from winter, the solstice, to the now, um, February 2nd, 3rd, the actual cross quarter is on the 4th. It's Sunday. That period of time was the waning of winter, and now we're beginning to wax into spring. And then the mid-spring would be the equinox. So that's how I look at it. And I just offer that because that's the perspective that this information that I'm receiving, that I'm wanting to share, is coming from. So the birthing wild at this time is so beautiful because there is the idea of what is quickening within your belly, what is quickening, ready to want to be stirred, want to become feral, to become wild. What do you want to birth at this time? And there's a lot of growth in that. You think, well, this cross quarter is called Imbolc, which means literally in the belly, meaning in the belly of the mother. Olmilk is another term that is used for this cross quarter, which is ewe's milk. So there's a lot of nourishment, sheep, lamb, at this time. Like, this is the time, this is why we use that. Christianity, we're looking at the coming of the Savior, if you will, at this time as well, the Lamb of God. This is such a beautiful way of looking at what is ready to spring forth. And we also have the quickening within Mama Earth herself. We have the quickening in the trees, the roots are starting to to tickle a little bit as the earth softens. This is the birthing wild. Even in the snow and the chill and the cold, you've got these beautiful bulbs ready to come up and emerge, if you will. So I'm kind of jumping ahead as Jill did. I read it that way too. Like, you have this birthing wild and the outcome is the emergence. And this is a time we are no different than nature. We are nature. We're made of earthen. We are an earthen vessel. And so what is happening naturally in Mama Earth is naturally happening within us at this time. So I thought birthing wild was so perfect for the current situation. Then, as Jill said, we go into the second, which we both pull one, and your hopes and your fears. Which way do we go, right? Like, where on the spectrum? And typically we slide one way and then we kind of slide the other way. Winter is a time for restoration. It is that time for rest. Earth is resting. Critters are hibernating. There's a time for restoring ourselves. And don't think that you didn't get rest. Like, if you feel like, whoa, where did all the time go? Or I'm not feeling restored, there is still time to do that before we pop out the gate for spring and summer. And what do you need? That's the question. What do you need to restore? And restoration comes almost daily. How do we restore when we rest? How do we restore when we go to sleep, right? Sometimes we're so exhausted, we plop, we sleep, we jump out of bed, and off we go again. Jill and I were just chatting. I had two of my grandchildren for 7 days. I hadn't done that for a long time. And one of the things I had to keep saying was, I raised 5 children and they're still alive, 5 and alive, right? So, and my grandchildren are still alive, and so am I. But there were schedules, there were things that I wasn't used to, but I wasn't exempt of the responsibility to restore myself so that I could get up and assist them to start their day, to get them off to school. I forgot what it was like that children need to eat 3 meals a day, right? Like how to make 3 meals a day. So the hopes and fears, we could hope, I want to be restored. I'm so exhausted. The fear is, are you going to do it? And ultimately, the responsibility comes back home to each of us. It is our responsibility to fill our cups, to restore ourselves, to put it all back together. One of the things I wrote when I created this card was that life remains beautiful. Life remains beautiful. And just to say that is being compassionate to yourself and your life. I wanted to add in this section with compassion, have compassion on yourself. Don't beat yourself up that, you're not getting the rest or you burnt the omelet one of those mornings, right? It's all okay. 5 and alive. Just keep telling yourself we're all alive and life remains beautiful. But there's a difference between compassion and empathy. And many of us absorb a lot these days. I know I'll go into a grocery store or somewhere and I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling the energy around me. You can come into a home, like my kids would come home when I was raising those kids decades ago, and they'd be like, oh, we already know mom's upset, right? So everybody's kind of like, the energy that we emit and the energy that we receive, we become very empathic. And we need to understand the difference between empathy and compassion. Because if we hold on and absorb it all, that can be very unhealthy for us. But we can be the alchemizer of energy, right? And that requires us to be in a state of filling our cup in restoration, in rest, rejuvenation, all of that. And compassion, then we can have compassion. We don't have to carry it as an empath might, but we can have compassion for whatever's going on. All right, then the helpful energy, eternal moon. I love the moon. I just love the moon. There's a community of women. We gather twice a month, once before the full moon and once before the new moon. And so the cycles of the moon are very much mimicking the cycle of Earth as she goes, makes an annual revolution around the sun. We have that opportunity each month. So to have an understanding of the phases of the moon and to begin to work at least with the waxing and the waning, the full and the new. And so if you have questions on that, I'd be happy, Jill and I'd be happy to sit with you and chat about that. But just take time to step outside and look for the moon. Now, as Jill said, we are approaching a new moon in just over, I think it's a week from today, a couple of days after that maybe. But you can still, she's in third quarter, last quarter phase. You can see her out there early in the evening and begin to just connect with this wonderful rock that is in our sky. And as Jill mentioned, this is a lot of feminine energy. It's an invitation to come inward. We know that the moon affects the waters. We, as beings, as earth and temples, have the same amount of percentage of water within us that Earth has. So if it's affecting Earth, it is affecting us. And so when we can learn to live in harmony with the solar and lunar cycles, all of the things are the restoration, the way that we approach our lives becomes very helpful. We are co-creators with the sky mystery and the earth mystery. We are the mystery with the sky and the earth. And so really coming into an awareness even that you are part of that and that is part of you. And together, the universe, the moon, the earth, Pluto, all of us are created beings set into motion and harmony by the great creator. And so how can we come into resonance and harmony with all of it? And that's just a huge invitation for that, that helpful energy place. I did want to touch on one more thing on compassion. Is Jill mentioned it's not an excuse. Love that. There, you know, I failed to do something to meet a doctor's appointment. And I was like, oh, it's because da 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 da. And I said to myself, and I say this to community all the time, you don't have to give me the reasons why, right? I could give really 3 really good reasons, I said, why I didn't do what I needed to do for this doctor's appointment. But it's still just an excuse. I didn't do that. I am so sorry. I need to reschedule. Right. And that sounds so simplistic, but when we can get to the point where we don't have to give excuses, that is being very compassionate to ourselves. And we're not using compassion as an excuse. Right. And I really think that not using empathy as an excuse. I'm so exhausted because I went to the grocery store and I absorbed everybody's stuff and I don't know what to do with it. Right. All right, so now we're jumping over to the obstacle card, which is Radiant Soul Healing. And I just, I really would like to shift the word healing to something else. More and more, the word healing is being so overused. And sometimes it's not even just a healing that we're needing. It's an acceptance, maybe radiant soul acceptance. How do we accept ourselves right where we are? And that becomes the obstacle. I hear over and over and over again, well, once I get through that, or once I'm healed, or once, right? Healing is so important. But we'll go back to the excuses of compassion, having compassion on yourself. The reason why I did that was because I have this wounding. Maybe it's the mother wounding. The mother wounding, it's all a woman wound, right? And we no longer can use that as an excuse. I have compassion for it, right? I believe in restoration. But until we can rise and heal the divine feminine, and when we heal the divine feminine, we are automatically healing the divine masculine. And I'm not referring to genderizing, however, it does become gender. But this card, Radiant Soul Acceptance, and our soul is should be, we are working towards sacred right relation within ourselves of the divine feminine, divine masculine, as we are created beings in these earthen temples. And so be really in the awareness of what radiant soul healing, what that image is saying. How can you be accepting of your radiance? Because once you accept that you are a radiant soul living in this earthen temple, you light up and you will be a beacon just simply by being, by your breath, the breath of life. You will illuminate yourself and those around you. So what the obstacle is by not allowing that radiant soul acceptance to take place within you. Be in the awareness of that and no more excuses. Own your life, own it. You are responsible for you. And when you can accept where you are in this life, you can then be in control. You can then radiate your soul. And then emergence, so beautiful, isn't it? Like something's going to emerge, beloved. Something is going to emerge. And what will that be? And may it be the transformation, just as the phoenix that is rising. Something will emerge. Don't allow circumstance to dictate what emerges from you. You get to choose how you emerge through not just this month of February, but tomorrow, the next day, next month, summer solstice, February 2025. You are in the driver's seat. And I hope that you, you birth it wildly. So good, Jill. Thank you for this. It was very exciting. Very exciting.
That was great, Julia. I wrote down some notes while you were talking because I always love to hear what you have to say. So when Julia was talking about for people that are empaths and they have a tendency to take on other people's energies. One of my teachers, Karen Curry Parker, from Quantum Human Design, she always talked about being a screen and not a sponge. And I loved that. And I use that phrase a lot with my clients because we're all empaths to a varying degree. And there are some people that are just based on their human design, way more empathic than others. So, and unless you're taught or unless you just, learn through your own exploration, that energy can get stuck in your energy body. So be a screen, not a sponge. Awareness builds consciousness. Tune in. Is this mine? Is this not mine? So that awareness of, oh, this isn't mine, this is somebody else's, kind of can help you allow that energy to pass through you. So for those that need extra benefit, and Julia, if you have something to share as far as a tool goes that you have found has worked well for you, I'd love you to share it. But Donna Eden's Energy Medicine, she has on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the description below, but she has like this 5, 6, 7 minute daily energy routine that you can do to help kind of zip up your energy field. And a lot of people that practice that and have utilized that, if they felt like they were taking on too much energy from other people and holding on to it, just doing that for a couple weeks, or even some people in a couple days, really started to notice a shift in their energy field and the way that they were allowing things to pass through them. Or some people said they weren't even being affected as much by others. So being an empath is a gift. There's a way to use it and utilize it. The universe gave you those skills for a reason. It's not a punishment. So learning to work with that energy and then taking that and allowing it to serve the work that you feel called to do in this world. I don't mean a job work. I just mean, your expression in this lifetime can help. And then when you mentioned, Julia, about, cycles within cycles, and we've got the moon energy, the moon cycle here, and then we've got this sun card here. It really is working in harmony with all of it and letting the energy flow. And it's when the energy gets stuck that it doesn't always feel great. So, and then just because I'm me, I have this conversation about the healing word with everybody because I know it fell out of popularity and it just means different things to different people. And, first and foremost, I am an energy healer. That's one of the things that I am passionate about in this lifetime. So I have another friend who's also a healer, and then she just started to hate on the word healing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, am I just doing a disservice to people because I continue to use the word healing? So healing to me is wholeness. It's a return to wholeness. That yes, in truth, we already are that wholeness, but for various different reasons, either we split apart some of our energy and then just calling it back is a healing. I'm also a retired registered nurse. So, when I think about wound healing, like I don't look at that as a negative thing. If there's something there that needs to be healed, it's awesome. So, I want you to know, I totally hear you, Julia, and I get why people are so not resonating with the word healing anymore. I automatically convert healing to wholeness and see it as a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm just throwing that out there for some people. If you kind of go back and forth with the word healing, there is no right or wrong. There's only what makes sense to you in your mind. So yeah, that's about it. The other thing I have, and Julia, again, if you have anything to add to anything I just said, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Those are really, that's really important. And thank you for bringing up the healing aspect. Yes, that's always the first thing I think is that Jill's been a registered nurse and I've just been a registered patient for a lot of years of my life. So it takes the two to actually heal. And it is a restoration coming back into the wholeness of who we are. So thank you, Jill, for bringing that perspective in.
All right, so before we wrap up, the only other thing I want to share is this Sacred Foundations card up here that we pulled to just kind of be another layer, another lens to kind of look through for this reading. Some people may find that beneficial, other people aren't interested. So if you feel complete and you don't want to know what the message of that card was, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to any of the insight that you get from this reading, taking information and grounding it and using it in a practical way. Is what Julia and I really hope that you do. So we hope that you journal, took down some notes, took down some possible implementable steps that you can utilize as you go through the month of February. I'm going to stop this share. So bye, everybody, unless you wanted to stay and hear about the other card. So, all right, fingers crossed that I can do this. And we shall see, because I did not take handwritten notes and it doesn't look like I'll be able to do it. So, okay, Jules,
Yes.
I'm going to just read it. So I'm going to read it off my page. I wanted to share it, but I don't know why I can't. So the card is Sacred Foundations card 1, and it's about grounding, inner peace, balance, and harmony. It says, you are rediscovering your own identity, establishing deeper trust in yourself, and grounding your true essence into the physical expression of you. I love that paired with the birthing wild, because as there's this growth and there's expansion, that can be done through groundedness in the physical world. It says, this sacred foundation frequency card carries the energy of inner peace, balance, grounding, and harmony. There is a stabilization to this card that assists you in raising your baseline frequency in a sustainable and easily integrated way. If this card is coming up for you, check in and see if you will benefit from any of the following. And it talked about recognizing if you have any nervousness or anxiety or agitated energy running in your field, and how you could process that and clear that from your energy body. And that's really, to me, related to the restoration card, and then the radiant soul healing. So for some of you, I want you to know that if you are experiencing this nervousness, anxiety, agitation energy, to, see it for what it is, take the energy and information that it has for you, and then let it clear from your body. And earthing is a great way, if it's possible, to get out into nature. It's a little cold outside, but if you can just come in contact with the earth in some way to discharge that energy. If you can't get outside, even just grounding in meditation, and seeing roots grow from your from your root chakra, go deep into the crystalline core of Mother Earth, and discharging that energy is something that can be done. And then it says, check in to see if you have your coping mechanisms are healthy or not. We're not really taught healthy coping mechanisms, or at least we didn't used to be. So learning a healthy coping mechanism is a skill set that can be learned. So see if your coping mechanisms are healthy or not healthy. And if you have healthy coping mechanisms, are you utilizing them? And then we talk about in this card the energy of loving and accepting yourself. And that kind of goes along with emotional freedom technique and tapping. And even though I'm feeling X, Y, or Z, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And that's the compassion card. So that's a little bit extra energy there. And just because I couldn't share the screen, I'll also put the message to that Sacred Foundations card in the description below. So, all right. Anything else to share, Jules, before we say goodbye?
So good, Jill. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Blessings in this month of February.
All right, everyone, I am going to stop this recording, and we'll see you next month.